Hi, this is Noah Cantor with Advice from Young Tradesman TV. This is part 2 of our Redwood siding restoration series. If you didn't see part 1, there'll be a link somewhere around here and in the show notes. Highly recommend you do that to see how we got to part 2 here. This video is going to be sanding and Armstrong-Clark oiling this beautiful house. So stay tuned for that. Before we get started on that, I want to thank the PCA, the Painting Contractors Association, for generously underwriting content like this. They care about the contractor. They have resources for us, by us in some cases like this. They have expos, they have industry standards, apprenticeship training videos, and healthcare. So if you are a forward-thinking contractor, please check them out. I'm a member and you should be too. So we wrapped up last video by learning that butyls were super important as a chemical stripper ingredient to eating through this old built-up finish. We got through just about all of it, and now we are going to start the sanding phase, so stay tuned for that. What we're doing right now is going around the house doing the finish sand, but what you're looking at there is all the redwood sanded to 80 grit. And you'll also notice the aluminum cladding is off of the windows. What I started doing was kind of peeking under it because I was like, this stuff is really bad. I can't do clean lines, you know? There's no way I can do nice clean lines there if there's aluminum cladding and like there was horrible caulking that was dried out. It was just letting a lot of water in and not letting it escape. So I started peeking under it, and it turns out 95% of the wood is perfect, no rot. There's a little bit of epoxy work to do, but I also was able to pull the trims. We have nice wood trim, nice lines. It's going to be excellent. But let me show you what we inherited at the end of the wash and how we are sanding it down to get to this gorgeousness. Look at that. Okay, so this is what it looked like at the end of the wash. Now, as you can see, it's furred up, it's textured, but as you can see, it looks great. You know, we are sitting pretty here. There's not much finish to sand off. Again, that finish, even slight amounts of it, was really, really rough to do. So this is what we want. This is a good example of what didn't come off. So this is the worst I was willing to leave it, the worst I was willing to stop at the chemical phase with. See this? This is still kind of old hard finish, but the good news is that it's mostly within wood, the harder grain, and that'll break down pretty quickly with 36 grit sapphire. So this is the worst of it that was left over. Not bad. I can show you too. This is kind of the dead, faded wood fibers that we were left with after the full strip. And this is what it looks like going over it with 36 grit sapphire once. So we got thunderstormed out here, which is why it's left like this, but that is the first pass that we do. The reason we are sanding it all down is that was an aesthetic choice. So I was lucky enough, there was some construction happening while I was bidding this job. So I grabbed this piece, stripped it, and this is the fuzzy look that it was left with post chemical strip. This is without sanding, this is with sanding. So that was basically an add-on. I said, you know, it's gonna be okay either way. It's just gonna look a whole lot sweeter if we sand it versus if we don't. Clients chose that option, so we are sanding the whole house down, and let's go take a look at what Bender's doing on that front. Okay, around the corner, Bender is doing the main sand. What that means is Festool 150 ETS. We start with 36 grit sapphire, then we move up to 60 and 80 granite. We end on 80. We don't want those pores more closed than that. For the gaps, what we are doing, pretend there's finish there, if there's any. Pull scrape it if necessary. And then the trusty linear sander LS 130. This thing is awesome for stuff like this. We want that clean, and clean looks like that. Gorgeous. This is closer to fine woodworking than exterior wood maintenance. You can see the difference over here. See how roughed up that is? That's probably, or definitely 36 versus 80. Okay, people. I can't stand how light this wood filler is, so I'm gonna scrape the top 1/8 of an inch off and try to dye the wood filler with some redwood dust. So as you can see, it's sanded pretty flush. I'm gonna go around and just scrape the top bit off. All right, I'm using this because it is stainable. I was not interested in, special ordering some $80 kit of some wood something epoxy. I needed it to be readily available and stainable. So we have this. Let me show you. Because we're sanding down the entire house, we have quite a bit of redwood dust to dye it. Also, all of that. Anybody need any redwood dust? So what we can do, I feel like Tony Montana over here. Basically, do that, mix it up. I notice the stuff gets kind of dry, so I have a little water here. And then just kind of roll it around and aggregate it with the red until it starts to look closer to this. Okay, so I found the best way to do it, because even though it is moistened, it is still a little crumbly, is to pack it in. And since this sands so well, I don't really mind that there's a lot extra. I do really want to pack it in though, every which way, so that you're really forcing like the sandy, granular parts of this into the slightly rough wood texture that's kind of around these patches. Okay, a few hours later, see how it sands? I'm using some worn 80 so I don't change the dynamic of this wall face. And it's not perfect, but it is far from as bright as it was, and that is going to even out a lot more. It's not going to jump out, it's just going to kind of blend in. So that is mission accomplished. And now we are going to start masking this side and knocking it out before the punishing sun makes its way around the house. It is like 90 degrees with a horrible UV index, so we don't want to be in the sun. But again, Armstrong-Clark doesn't care. And let's pan down this black satin trim finish. It's gonna be great. Okay, we have this section masked and ready to go just as the sun is just sneaking up on it. We did a little cursory masking on this side just so that, foundation, soffit, window aren't gonna get blasted from some overspray. So I'll show you the spray setup. Usually I would use my 440 for exterior spraying, but I want to test the limits of the ED655. I have loved this thing for interior finish spraying, and I just want to see how its flow compares to the 440, because its gallons per minute is a little less. But let's see if it's a limiting factor here. But yeah, got a little extension, and I'm using a 512 tip because I want a wide spray pattern, but just, since I am spraying it on and back brushing it in, I don't need that much, and I'm working it in with the brush. So really this is an effective applicator, and I want a smaller orifice size there. And then I'm using a 6-inch decking brush to back brush it in. So I will set up a little time lapse here and show you what's up. Okay, it turns out I don't need the ladder. The extension can reach, but it's a nice holder. So I'm gonna show you a couple things that are going on here. So you can see I didn't use a normal spray pattern because I was gonna back brush anyway, so I held it way too close and the pressure's a little low. That's intentional, but what we're seeing, this board did not get enough. It wants more. It sucked it in immediately. Over here, this board, mostly enough. I'm gonna keep distributing from where it's heavy here to where it's a little light there, and you can see there's sections here. But that was just, you know, the first kind of quick and dirty once over. So let's load up a little more on this one and watch it drink it up. There's gonna be differential absorption every time. No board is gonna be perfectly absorbent, so it's just a matter of adding a little more where the wood wants it and letting it take it and evenly distributing it from where there's a little excess and it's not absorbing to where it is going in. So this one, it just keeps taking it. And then I'm just gonna add some to select spots. And some spots are never gonna stop being thirsty. And that's okay. We just wanna give them the opportunity to have as much as it wants. You would never spray a product like this and just leave this oil unabsorbed. That would be the worst thing you can do. It needs to be mechanically worked in. And it doesn't matter that I might have shot extra everywhere, because you're noticing I'm taking it, removing it from where there's extra, brushing it over the places where it might need it, and I have nice dry wood to brush off excess on. With this process, you can be pretty sloppy at first, as long as you know what to do on the back end. And this stuff will stay open for a while, too. So I can come back to these boards in 20, 30 minutes and do more finish strokes to, again, even out that differential absorption. So that's what it looks like. All right, and this is just radiant grain. I'm so glad this is on the front of the house. That figuring is unreal. See that nice even sheen? That means the wood has plenty to drink up. Potentially too much. I would rather have a little too much than a little too little here and have to buff it off, because this side gets hammered with the sun. So we do 10 minutes of buffing. It is worth it for knowing that the wood got all it wanted to drink up. So I will come back after lunch and give it another even brush out with a dry brush, and then I will leave it to see what it does. But this is outrageously good. And quick little follow-up on the dyeing the wood filler. I think that worked pretty well compared to the kind of yellowish tan that would have really popped out there. That stained really well. Okay, so this is what it's looking like after about an hour. As you can see, it's still maybe, the video is showing it looking pretty sheeny, but I can tell in person that the sheen has mostly absorbed and there's really not a ton sitting on the surface. Yeah, you can kind of see up there, it's really absorbing well. So what I do at this stage, you know, it clearly doesn't need another coat because there's still a little bit sitting on the surface, it hasn't drunk it all up, is again, I take the soft bristle brush, this time some generic Lowe's thing, because the expensive name brand one, this Arrowworthy Olympian, that probably 30 bucks and I've used twice, these nails just separated. So don't buy these, and never underestimate how good the incredibly cheap, completely off-brand stuff from Lowe's can be. So yeah, as you can see, there's a bit of a discrepancy in absorption here, so I am going to even that out with one more brush out and then let the sun bake it. All right, and a couple hours later, barely any sheen. So the sun really baked it in, and you can see where it hasn't gotten much sun up there. It's still absorbing a little slower, but overall, this side took it very, very well. I'm very happy with how much saturation we got. The clapboards are taking a little more time. So on account of that, we did not go forward and apply more oil down here. Okay, we missed yesterday because of weather, but this front part dried really, really well. If you recall, I loaded this up and it's not even slightly oily to the touch. This took it all, which is exactly what I want because, again, the sun brutalizes this side. So it is Friday, we missed Thursday, so we're here early and I want to finish everything. And we have a good jump start on masking, but there is a lot of oil to apply today. And we will see if we can do it all. Well, it poured a little bit last night after we finished, and this morning was a tropical deluge, and we're still good. Now, in a few places, there are these little light watermarks where there was some beading. Those will dry up. I have watched those happen, and after good drying conditions, those will completely go away. All is well back here as well. And that is a wrap. All right, and similarly to the first video, recording kind of fell by the wayside. Again, it was incredibly hot. Thunderstorms were popping up. So I'm sorry about the somewhat lack of a cohesive narrative there, but that just gives you a sense of what a summer work day is like in Vermont. So couldn't be happier with how this one turned out. It is gorgeous. That wood is happy. Armstrong-Clark could not have, there's not a better product than Armstrong-Clark for that sort of situation. And because the video footage just kind of out, here's some nice before and after photos. And yeah, thank you for watching. Leave the comments down below. DM me at Advice from Young Tradesman if you have any questions about this. But yeah, the series was a lot of fun to make, and thanks for watching.